Welcome back on Dynamod. Today I want to propose you a video about
a series of video about the 9th edition for Warhammer 40k released by the Games Workshop. So in the description you can find also the playlist where you can find all the videos related about the core rules and advanced rules related about this edition. So now we can start to see all the rules that we have to know. So after the charging phase there is the fight phase, and this is the result of the charging phase. First thing that you have to remember is that the unit that will fight first are the unit that has charged or made an heroic intervention. So for example, if we charge and make an heroic intervention here, in that case it will be these units to make the combat before everything else. So remember such one. And after that all the units that are charged as fought, then we start with the opponent that are going to make the first attacks. So if this charged, it's in your turn the opponent to make the first attacks. So for example, this unit can fight before the other, or for example, this unit that has not suffered any wound yet can fight before the other ones that are around, because it's the opponent one. So pay attention to when you declare the charge and the order after you make the combats, because if you go to see this, it's the first to make a combat because it doesn't charge and so on. Okay, but after we can choose, for example, other units to make the combat, because afterward you alternate. So if you decide that this is the first of the unit, it's that you decide, for example, you could fight with this so that you can eliminate these models before having anything else. Okay, here you had yet done, but you have these that can fight. So for example, you could think that you can finish this one before it attacks and make attacks with these models. So pay attention about the order in which you decide that the units will go to attack, because it's really quite important to make the results of the combat itself, because they can change a lot the amount of attacks that you can suffer, or even if a unit can attack, because maybe it will be finished by another unit eventually right after. To combat, you have to remember that the models that will go to combat are the ones that are within the engagement zone, so they are less than 1 inch from the enemy, and the ones that are half an inch from a mod that is in the engagement zone. So for example, this one, you can see that has this, that it's not in combat, even if it will be half inch from this model is not in combat. So this model could not attack. Instead, this one, because it's within half an inch from this one that it's in the engagement zone of such model, can attack. So it's important to remember that you have to take note which models can attack. Then we select a unit that we are going to use to combat, and we have to start from the unit that has charged. So for example, we can think that this unit has charged this and this one too. So we take two, we can choose one of them that has charged, and then we make them combat. But before to combat, we can make with that unit a pile-in. So for example, this one could be brought to do this, okay, if this is the closest model. But if this one is the closest, this one can do also such one. So it can move in the engagement zone of a unit that was not charged. But there is a problem. The charging unit can fight only the units that have charged. So for example, this one can do this because it's the closest, but it will not be able to combat against this one. So it can only engage this unit, but this model can't use these attacks on such unit because it has not charged. If it's not the charging phase, or better, this unit has not charged and we are after, we can do this and make it a combat. but if this unit has charged, even if it do so, this model will not be able to make its attacks, so pay attention about such thing. One other thing that can be done with the pile-in, it's that you can move around a model, because if you touch base to base, the models has to be fixed, so they can't move at all. But if you do so, you can move around and maybe enter around, for example, moving in such a way with the free inch that you have, that you are close and you can maybe enter in the aura abilities or so on of some models. So remember that you have some things like this that you have to remember. So this it's perfect to make the model move in the engagement zone, make the model move that it is within half an inch of a model that is yet in the engagement zone, so that it can attack, or as we've seen, make that it can move and make an engagement. So for example, in this case, if you do this one has charged this one can combat these models, but it can be fight back. So I think that it can be really quite interesting to understand how to make work such pile-in, because it's really quite important to understand. And now we can think about how to attack. Remember that each mod has a number of attacks. So for example, we can take this situation with this unit where this one it's more than half an inch of every model of its unit, so it can attack because it can't do it. This one it's within 1 inch of this engagement zone. In this case we are not charging. And these ones, I see that this one it's within half inch of this mod that are engaged with this unit, and half an inch of this model that it's engaged with this one. So it means that this one will not be able to make any attacks, because even after pile-in it can't do. So we had that this one can attack only this one because it's the only engagement zone that it has. These models can attack only these ones because it has the only engagement zone that they have. This one instead can choose if attack this unit or this one, and eventually it can also split its attack. So it means that, for example, this models has one attack each. Make that you amplify with the shockcast that's the special of the Space Marine. So they have 2 attacks each. So you have 8 attacks in total. But we have that this one has 2 attacks. This one has 4 attacks. And this one, that is the center one, has 2 attacks. So you can do 2 attacks from this side, you can do 2 attacks from this side, or split and make that has 1 attack from this side and 1 attack to this side. So remember that you can split the attacks of every weapon that you have for every model. So any model can choose, if it has option, which unit to attack and how to divide its attack on those units. So pay attention how you're going to use such option, because for example, if you want to finish, maybe you want to add weight on this because you want to have more attacks and finish this unit, or you prefer to make more attacks on this one. So choose where to put the attacks, it's really quite important. Another thing to remember is that all the attacks of the same type are done at the same time. So you have to finish all the attacks of the same unit together. So you declare the attacks. For example, these ones are going all to this. But for example, these 4 have the same melee weapon. This one, it's instead having a power fist. So we can declare that we are going to make the attacks of this before, and then this, anyway, they are going to compare, it's only throwing the dice, so all the attacks will enter, even if you remove all these and this, it's out of the engagement zone. When it's its turn, its attack is still going on, so not worry about this. So it becomes really quite important to understand how to do. It's like the shooting phase, so you simply divide and throw all the dice together. It's simply a way to save time. And after the unit has made its combat, it has the option to make a consolidate movement. So it moves, for example, if this model destroys this unit, it can have 3 inch to move to the closest enemy. So for example, it can do if this is the closest one, do so. But it means also that this model now it can fight, so it can attack this model itself. So pay attention to such decisions. For example, this one that has the closest, we can think that is the closest to this unit, has 3 inch and it can do this, so it can engage such unit. But if this unit has yet to combat, the models can fight this unit instead of this one, because now they are eligible. So think about such option. One thing that you have to remember is that if the bases are in contact, these ones are considered having had the consolidation, so they can't move anymore, so they are blocked there. One thing to do this, it's for example if you destroy this, for example it's that this one is free, so after you fought with this one, make this in the way that this unit is still engaged. In this way it should fall back to be able to make other things instead of being freely. So there are a lot of options that you can use to change the different way to make the combat, and so it's quite important because it can change also the next turns. Moreover, you have to remember that with the pile-in and the consolidated uses up to 6 inch. For example, think to a massive unit with a lot of models that has first the 3 inch to move to the closest enemy, and then another 3 inch to move again. So they can move quite a lot. It's almost another movement phase that you have available. So decide how to make such movement, and if to make such movement, because it's not a must. You have to move against the closest enemy, but it's not a must to do such. It's important to decide how to make your attacks and how to develop your close combat. So I think that it's quite important to understand how to make such movements inside the fight phase. One last thing, it's something that maybe I should not say, but you have to remember, you must fight with all the possible units and with all models that can fight. So you can avoid, for example, to control to make that you pile in and so on, so you can make that the weight of your attacks can change. But if the models are yet in close combat and so on, so they can fight, they must fight. You can choose to avoid to do attacks. It's not like the shooting phase that you can choose if a unit can shoot or not shoot. You have to fight. So remember that there is such thing. Anyway, after that you finished everything, you go to make the moral phase. So we can move there. Anyway, from Dino Mode it's everything. I invite you to put a like on this video, to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell, and to comment this video if you are interested in something about this video or you want to suggest me some arguments for other videos. I hope to see you again to the next time.